If you enjoy this episode of the Workflows Photography Podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast player you are listening from. Workflows is a podcast about saving you time and money in your photography business. I'm your host, Scott Weidenkifowitz, a photographer and content creator who struggles with dyslexia, color blindness, introversion, and anxiety stemming from years of being bullied as a child. Guess what? Workflows have been my rock. I have workflows for every aspect of my life. That's why I am so happy to bring you Workflows, a podcast presented by Imagen. As a company dedicated to saving you time and money in your photography business, it makes sense to enhance and expand the conversation to all things workflows. Tune in and subscribe to hear stories, strategies, and tools that can be your rock. Hear from people just like you. Get to work with Workflows. This is part 2 of my conversation with Frederick Van Johnson from This Week in Photo. I hope you listened to part 1 already, and if you haven't, hit pause, go listen to part 1 right now, and then come back and listen to part 2 as we wrap things up about the future of photography. Without further ado, let's get right into part 2 right now. So, as we get closer to wrapping up, the next thing we wanted to the next thing we wanted to touch on was automation that we're seeing in album and book designs. There's a bunch of, this whole conversation. Yes, we started with AI. We've been talking about AI, but a lot of this is just automation. Automation makes our lives simpler, no matter what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can program my garage door so that when I get home, it recognizes I'm home and then my garage door opens. Like, automation is beautiful. So I don't do that because I don't want somebody random just walking into my garage. But
yeah,
but it's possible.
It's a thing.
So anyway,
it's a thing.
Yeah. So album and book design. There's a bunch of different tools out there that do album and book design. Even now, some of these companies are starting to do social design as well, social media design, using their same software they built for album design to now do social design. So, what are your thoughts on using these sort of tools to do client books, to do personal books, to do wedding albums, whatever it is? What do you think about those?
Brilliant. It's brilliant and much needed. It's another thing, right? You feel like, I know a lot of photographers that I know will say, yeah, I gotta have my fingers on everything, and I have to build my layouts, and only I know how to do this, and that's part of my sauce.
Yeah.
Sure, for those people, this is not for them, because they find a happiness in building the ship in the bottle, right? They find gratification in the journey, which there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But for the other people that find that drudgery, that kind of work drudgery, I'm not creative. I don't know if I should have 1 shot on this page or 3, or, in composition, she's looking that way. Should she be looking towards the seam of the book?
Right.
All these decisions that the software already knows, and it can do that. And if the software can look at the shot too and place it in a frame on the page correctly, i.e. not cutting people's heads off and doing all of the right stuff, at the very least, it gives you hours and hours of your day back when it comes to doing this kind of layout, right? And at the end of the day, you still have control over it, right? Because you're finished and you're like, oh, yeah, I probably should put Aunt Jenny in that spot, and let's move that one, or maybe this one would be better as a full page. But it gives you a brilliant head start, much like ChatGPT, right? If you gotta, like, for me, I had to write my intro for this last conference. I could have written it myself or copy and pasted one of my old ones and changed it or done whatever. But you release ChatGPT on it, and it pulls something out that only needs a few minor changes and tonal updates. Go fix that for me. My ChatGPT dog. Same thing for album design, these kinds of things. The whole point of technology, one of the main, not the only singular point, but one of the main points of technology is to make our lives easier, to free us up to do the core thing that we enjoy doing. That's what it is. All this other stuff that's kind of hanging around, like in photography, right? Our core goal is to tell stories or create images that others enjoy. That's it. And
Yeah.
everything between that finished bit and what we see in our mind's eye is resistance, right? It's okay, I gotta understand how focal lengths work. Okay, I gotta understand this. Oh, half press to focus. Oh, focus area this. Am I shooting RAW or JPEG? Am I shooting high enough resolution? Oh, I have my images now. Now I got to build an album from them. I got to figure out the software to build the albums, to give to my. All that stuff is drudgery in the middle. And when software can pop in there and say, hey, Frederick, let me take that off your plate, man. You look like you're stressed, Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please take it. You can do
Yeah.
it better than I can. You take it. I'm going to
Yeah.
check your work, but you take it, and
Yeah.
we'll keep pressing forward. So
Yeah.
no, I think those I think we're at the beginning of those as well, right? Because as
Yeah.
things change and technologies change and new tools pop up for us as content creators to use, so will the demand for how you present the final output change
Yeah.
as well. And these companies will also hopefully follow suit and keep giving us great things. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
bullish
think
on the whole thing.
I think one of the important words that you just used was layout, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of album and book design tools and software, they use templates, right? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
here's your starting point, drag your photos in, or just add all, and that's it, right? And then you have to go and rearrange. Whereas the more modern solutions, the more intelligent ones, they're analyzing your photos ratings, they're analyzing the times of when the photos were captured, they're analyzing the aesthetics of which way they're looking, if and if they're color or black and white, and then they're laying it out in a way that makes sense based on those photos, not just templatizing your design. And I think that's
Which is
where, and
brilliant.
again, as you said, you can adjust, but it's giving you that starting point that's more personal to what you actually shot and not just the template.
Yeah.
So
And if these softwares can kind of either through input from you or just learning over time, figure out what your preferences are.
yeah,
Like,
yep,
Scott always does X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to assume that he wants to do X, Y, and Z with these photos, right?
yep,
So
yeah,
if it has that level of ability to infer what the user wants to, then yeah, I mean these tools become like little assistants for us to
yeah,
let us
or
do more in
yeah,
with less time.
yeah, or like Scott, for some reason you keep putting the person with the seam directly down the person's face. Stop doing it. I'm not going to let you do it
Right.
anymore.
Right. Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
prohibit
one of
me
the
from doing
things
stupid things.
it's interesting you say that. One of the things I was speaking with the Exciter folks on, and one of the things
Mhm.
that they're working on, actually, and it's public, so I can say it, is the idea of using artificial intelligence. And this is going to be controversial.
Mhm.
Uh, Using artificial intelligence to judge photography contests.
Oh, that's
Imagine
going to be
that.
very
So
yeah,
positives and negatives, right? So
yeah,
on the positive side, sure, it's a photo contest. You can give it the parameters of the contest. You can, do all the rules can be baked in so that anything that doesn't adhere to the rules of the contest immediately rejected. What a
mhm.
great filter, right? Instead of us, this was supposed to be a contest about flowers. Why is there a car in here with a
Yeah. I mean,
painted flower on the side, right?
as a first pass, I can see
Yeah,
that being helpful, just so I don't have to look at non-flower photos for a flower
correct.
contest.
But that's low
I
hanging
can't,
fruit, right? That first
yeah,
filter to
yeah,
reject things that don't adhere to what the contest is about. The
yeah,
second level is, like you're saying, these AIs understand lighting, composition, exposure, to some degree creativity, arguably, right? So
mhm,
they can hopefully tell what is a good photograph. Again, subjective, right? And
mhm,
controversial. What is a quote good photograph versus what is a quote bad photograph, and say, okay, this one can go forward to the next stage because of these
yeah,
reasons. This one cannot. So yeah, so I think though the tech can be used in some uses to be a standalone judge of a group of photos, to say out of all these photos, these three are the best, so winner,
mhm,
and I'm going to rank them like this. So you can do that
yeah,
instantly, I think. Should we do it? No, I don't think so. I think the way the technology should be used is well, for one, I don't want a robot telling me what's good or not, right? I really value the opinions of other people and other humans that know photography, right? So I want that in there, not
Yeah.
some machine learned amalgam of data that you apply to my photo. I want subjectivity
Yeah.
when people are looking at my photos. So under that light, I think it's those kinds of technologies will very clearly have a dial of how much you want their input, but they will be at the beginning of the flow. So maybe even
Yeah.
at ingest, when you upload a photo,
Right.
instantly, wouldn't it be great for the software,
Yeah.
or the page that you're
Denied
uploading
it's not a
from,
flower.
to tell you and why?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, to tell you,
Yeah.
no, this does not fit the
Yeah.
criterion of the blah blah blah. Here's a
Yeah.
reminder of the rules. Boom, go
Yeah. So,
for it.
so
Right?
that I could see being very useful. To me, as I'm somebody who I don't like photo contests personally. I don't
Hmm.
submit to photo contests because I don't enjoy them. Um, um, but to me, if I was to submit to a photo contest, I would want to be told ahead of time, we are using AI to either prevent you know, uh, inaccurate submissions or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
or I would want to be told your photos are being judged by AI, like not by
Yes.
humans,
Hundred
because
percent.
that makes a big difference of whether somebody's going to submit or not, for sure.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it should be
yeah,
I think it should be disclosed wherever used, to be honest with you. I
yes,
think,
yeah,
it should, wherever AI is being implemented to a degree, right? Like I
mhm,
don't need to know that it's, helping me, I'm sitting in a public space inside and AI is helping regulate the temperature in that room. I don't need to know that,
right,
that
right,
level, but if it's something that's more substantive, like it's judging a photo contest, or it wrote some copy that I'm reading that I could make the assumption was written by a human, I feel like right now at this stage in time, I want some sort of marker on there that says this was at least partially assisted by artificial intelligence or written completely by artificial intelligence. Same with images, right?
yeah,
I want, as Midjourney and all of these generative AI technologies get better and better, the distinction between what is a real photograph and what doesn't exist in the world anyway is
yeah,
becoming harder and harder to discern. So and I don't even know if this is possible, but I want some sort of marker on images or somewhere on a page that, where necessary, not always, but where necessary, that gives me a hint of, oh, this AI was involved in this composition.
yeah,
If it makes sense, right? If,
mhm,
for example, here's where it would make sense. I'm looking at a magazine, and who reads magazines here? But I'm looking at a magazine, and there's a shot of some delicious chocolate cake in there for a Betty Crocker ad, right? And the whole thing could be AI generated. I have no idea if it was or not because it looks
right.
photorealistic, it looks delicious, and all that. If it was generated by AI because it's a cake that they're trying to get me to buy, or a cake mix, I want to
It should be
know.
disclosed. Yeah,
I wouldn't disclose it. If it's just a photo of a birthday party with a kid in there and there's a cake on the table and it's not about the cake, then I don't care. It could be that cake could be AI generated. I don't care. It's in
yeah,
service of the story. But I think we need a
yeah,
level of disclosure and genuineness, as we start to move forward with this stuff, and it takes root.
yeah. Yeah, I think if it does get incorporated into magazines like that, it's going to quickly filter out the ethical versus non-ethical publications for sure.
Yeah. Hmm.
The ones who don't disclose when it comes to important things like an ad, for example. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I'd
yeah.
like to see a whole here's an idea. Maybe you could do this. I would like to see a whole satirical AI driven magazine, much like The Onion, but AI driven with like fake news stories, but
Everything.
in
Yeah.
AI generated photographs to go along
Yeah.
with them to illustrate it. I want to see that. That'd be
That
interesting.
yeah. Someone's gonna do it. It's only a matter of time before somebody does that.
Oh yeah,
100%.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, so is there anything as that's to wrap things up, is there anything going on with over at TWIP, at Flickr, at Smugmug, anything that you want to share that that's going on your side of things?
Not particularly. One thing I would just throw out there, and I have a question to throw back at you.
Yeah.
Um, one thing I would throw out there is about Flickr, right? I've been talking
Mhm.
since the acquisition happened about a year ago. I've been talking a lot about Flickr and speaking with a lot of different people about Flickr. And
Yeah.
the general consensus is, oh, Flickr, they're still alive, or it's either that or I still use Flickr, and I've been using Flickr since the
Yeah.
beginning of time, and I have no intention on stopping using Flickr because it
Mhm.
is my operating system for my photography, or sharing my photography. So one of the things, and I was in that first group. I've kept since 2008. I've had an active Flickr account, and I've had an active Flickr group. My Flickr group for This Week in Photo has over 100,000 people in there. It's not. I think it has over 100,000, maybe 100,000 images. I don't know. I have to look, but it's not insignificant the number
Mhm.
of people that are active inside of Flickr. And what I would encourage folks to do is do what I did. So at one point, I was like, okay, let me bear down and get reacquainted with how Flickr works,
Mhm.
because I had fallen off the path. I was one of the early users, 2008, right, of Flickr, and I remember how I used it then, and why I fell in love with it then, and where social media and image sharing kind of veered off to, right or wrong, is different than what Flickr kind of laid out as the path. And Flickr laid out this whole idea of groups and
Yeah.
individuals that are communicating about a particular type of photography, subgenre of a genre of a subgenre of photography, and there's a giant group around it that love that, and they interact with each other. So the community associated with that and that feedback, I feel like, is part of what's missing with the hashtags and the likes and all that of
Yeah.
today. Just
Yeah.
that, just like I remember back in the day, I was living in Los Angeles. I wanted to be a headshot. I wanted to start shooting headshots, and I did. So I was shooting headshots for actors and actresses down there. And as a new guy to Flickr, I was like, okay, I have this set of photos that I did of this particular person. Let me just upload them all to Flickr and let the community tell me which one is best. And that's
Right.
the way I used it, almost like as an AI, right? Upload
Yeah.
everything. And then we evolved past that with like 500px and those kind of initiatives where it was only upload the best of the best and get
Right.
feedback on that. So I
Yeah.
applaud that direction, but the lack of community is what's, I feel like, missing in a ton of photography today. This is why I started up the TWIP community, because there's the whole part of photography is just interacting with other people. It's not a sport where you can just go shoot and enjoy the fruits of your labor and then go on to the next thing. It is conversational, it is educational, it's psychological, it's all
Yeah.
these things that only a community can bring out. So yeah, I would encourage people to go check out, if you haven't, if you still have your Flickr account, I'd go dust it off and go back in there and see why you fell in love with it in the first place and use it. I am not paid to say that. I don't have to say anything about Flickr if I don't want to. It's not part of my agreement, right? Is to talk great about Flickr or SmugMug. But the reason I signed on with and align myself with both companies is because I believe in what they're doing, and the
Yeah.
software is amazing. So yeah, definitely go check it out. It
I
doesn't
just
cost anything,
yeah.
so I would
I
just go kick
just
the tires.
right. It is. They still do have the free plan. I just
Hmm.
So I'm on the free plan. I haven't had a pro plan in a long time, but um. uh, I just pulled up my profile. I've been a member of Flickr since August 2005.
Wow, before me, before me, right? See, and that,
It's a
and you could have,
long time.
yeah, and you could have canceled your account, for whatever
Of course.
reasons, and a lot of people did, I think, because of the Flickr was a hot potato back in the day. It was first, it was
Yeah.
independent, and then it wasn't. It got bought by Flick or by
Yeah.
Yahoo, and then they didn't know what to do with it, and then Yahoo, and fell on rough times, and they sold that off to
Yeah.
Flickr off to Verizon. All these
Yeah.
different things that happened. SmugMug, just in their credit, right? And the folks that managed SmugMug. So
Mhm.
SmugMug looked at Flickr and didn't, I don't think they looked at it from the standpoint of, oh, we can take this thing and, flip it and generate a gazillion dollars. Because if they
Oh
were
yeah.
thinking
No.
that,
No.
yeah, if they were thinking
Right.
that, they could have probably done something similar to that by funneling the gazillion Flickr members into
Into
SmugMug.
SmugMug. Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Yeah.
They didn't do
No.
that. And their reasoning, I'm told, was they they love photography. Smugmug was one of the reasons I wanted to be part of that company. They genuinely love photography,
Yeah.
and they saw Flickr as part of photography history and
History.
lore,
Yep.
and they felt, and all those images and just memories
Yeah.
that were just on the event horizon, getting ready to be sucked into the black hole. So they were
Yeah.
like, let's save it, and
Yeah.
make sure that it's going to be around for generations and generations through infrastructure and all the things that they did when they
Yeah.
bought it. So they modernized everything, bought it, or they bought it, then modernized
Yeah.
everything, put it on, the correct servers and all that, and boom, and it's off into the races.
Yeah.
And speaking with them, I had a conversation with the CEO, and speaking with them, I said one of the fears is, yeah, it's going to go away. There's all these also rans out there. There's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's
Mm.
500px. The list goes on of people that are trying to get our images, notwithstanding Adobe and Apple and Microsoft and Google also trying to get our images. Why would I
Mhm.
put them on this service over here that was a hot potato and all that? So they explained that without going into it exhaustively, but they explained that they have a commitment that Flickr is not going away. Flickr is going
Yeah.
to be around for our
Forever.
kids
Yeah.
and beyond our kids, and they've taken
Yeah.
steps to make sure that happens. When I
Right.
heard that, I was like, if for that alone, it is
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it, right?
At Imaging USA, I had I was lucky enough to sit in with a conversation with Ben, and he gave me the whole spiel, the whole backstory
Oh, Ben
of
McCaskill? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He gave
Mhm.
me the whole story about how the whole Flickr thing happened, and it not only is it fascinating, but it gives me even more respect for the team at SmugMug,
Yeah.
everybody at SmugMug for putting so much care into photography and what photographers have done for history, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I don't think
amazing.
you're gonna find a company with an executive team and a founding team that are more passionate. And I would go out on a limb. I very rarely make definitive pointed statements like this, but knowing those folks and knowing what they're doing, what they could have done, and how much money they could have made, right?
Yeah,
And that they, despite all that sort of the cash grab that was right in front of them, they I argue that they did the right thing, on the
mm,
Flickr side and just on the management of the company side. The company
yeah,
SmugMug has managed to remain private through all
mhm,
these storms, through, I
yeah,
mean, the photon torpedoes that have been shot at SmugMug are endless, right? Everything
right,
from patent troll suits to, infrastructure. You need
yeah,
to make sure that that's modern and humming along, to advancing the platform while running photographers' businesses and making them money,
yeah,
and keeping the eye on the ball, which is the people that are customers of both of these companies. Well, all three now, including This Week in Photo, are passionate photographers, right? And inside baseball, one of the mission statements for SmugMug, Flickr, and now This Week in Photo is to make the world, and this is the quote, this it's on the wall, right? To
mhm,
make the world a better place through the power of photography. That's the
yeah,
mission. That's what
yeah,
guides everything, is to make the world a better place through the power of photography. My mission
yeah,
statement for This Week in Photo is and was to entertain, inspire, and educate. However you want to phrase those three things, depending on the
yeah,
usage, but to entertain photographers, so entertainment, inspiration, and education. And
yeah,
I've found over the years that when you mix those things together, you get magic, because
yeah,
photography fits right in there with that. So
yeah,
yeah, but to throw the question at you, I wanted to throw at you is, the company that you have hitched your wagon to over there. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. This could be a whole separate interview, but I wanted to just kind of go into that world of
yeah,
what Imagine is working on, and what
mhm,
what your contribution is over there. I'm curious, from a photographer standpoint, but then
yeah.
also from somebody that's in the industry that is working with companies that build great tools for photographers. What are you guys working on over there?
Yeah, so, Imagine 3 years ago started, doing AI photo editing, right? We learn how photographers
Mhm.
edit in Lightroom Classic and create what we call a personal AI profile, and then, Once that's made, it takes less than 24 hours. Once it's made, we can then edit super fast. We can edit 1,500 photos in less than 10 minutes. So, and it's only getting faster and faster and better and better. We do a whole wide range of things, including subject mask, automation, and cropping and straightening, and do global edits. We do so much, and it's definitely been saving photographers a ton of time. Months back, we also announced, and people have been testing our AI culling, our photo selection software. We're actually like analyzing the photos and determining, not saying like this is bad, this is good. Like we're basically just saying like these are the ones that we suggest as your keepers, but we're still giving you everything, so you can still review everything to make sure that we're not overlooking something.
Yeah.
And that's been an ongoing thing. That's in beta. It's available to all paying customers right now.
Awesome.
So we've had editing, we've had culling, and what we're doing is we're basically bringing everything into what we are calling a workspace. So this is basically representing natural evolution of our software solution, which streamlines every aspect of a photographer's post-production workflow. We've already started this process by integrating culling into editing. So somebody can upload their photos to us and have the culling done, and then review that in Lightroom, review that in Photo Mechanic, whatever you want, and then quickly, without re-uploading, just choose what you want to send off to editing. It's painless. So we've been weaving this science that we've been building into a photographer's workflow. And so we're basically, what we've got is this whole roadmap of post-production tasks that can be conquered in super fast lighting speed, precision, all using AI and automation, and facilitating the ability to get post-production work done faster and safer, secure, empowering photographers. Basically,
it sounds like what we were talking about before, right? That's what technology is for, is to take things off of your plate so that you can, presumably the thing that you love doing is shooting, right? As a photographer, or maybe it's post-processing, I don't know, but for the most part, I think the common denominator for most photographers is we love taking photos, and the other part of it is we love sharing those photos, and everything in between that is, has varying degrees of difficulty depending on where you find joy. But what I'm curious about from your software standpoint is, who is it for? Like, is it for event photographers? Is it for wedding photographers? Is it for headshot or portrait?
So it's interesting. So when we originally came out, we originally created the software for wedding photographers, of course. But as we've come to find, there's all sorts of photographers that are using Imagen. We've got sports photographers. We've got NASCAR photographers, literally NASCAR photographers. We have, family portrait photographers. We have theater photographers that are using Imagen. So it really, a lot of headshot photographers, right? We've got the wide range, boudoir, you name it, they're using Imagen. So we are built for bulk photo editing in whatever capacity is needed. Bulk could be 5 photos at once. Bulk could be 1 million photos at once. It doesn't make a difference. We can handle as little or as much as needed. And it's just a matter of, right now we support Lightroom Classic. We are working towards supporting Capture One as well.
Awesome.
But yeah. So
take me through that just real quick. I know we're out of time, but I'm curious because I want to use the software, right? So if I'm shooting portraits, or let's say I'm doing a model shoot, right? And we're taking photos on this, in Sacramento or whatever. I come back with my memory card. I'm shooting Nikon. I don't have camera to cloud, so I come back with my memory card, and at that point of ingestion is where it's going to go on my hard drives and get replicated and do all the things, and I'm going to bring it into Lightroom Classic. So currently, my flow would be, okay, all right, I'm going to sit down, got my glass of wine, okay, import my photos, let's go and do a first pass and basically find the photos that I feel like are worthy of me taking to the next level, i.e. working on cropping, adjusting, removing, etc. and that's basically where it goes. So I work on those, and then those go into a finished folder, and then I put them on, SmugMug, and send the person a link, and
Mhm.
all the things. How does Imagine fit in that flow, in my
Yeah.
flow?
So
Like, where would
yeah.
I plug
So
you in?
what you would do is once you import into Lightroom, right, before you even do anything else, right, to any reviewing of the photos, before your
Hmm.
first pass, you'd import into Lightroom. You would then open the Imagine app, and you would upload that entire folder or the collection, whichever you work in, up to Imagine, and let it do the first pass for you. So what you're
From
doing is
within Lightroom, or as a separate app? So
so it's a
outside of
separate app.
Lightroom, separate
It's
app.
a separate
Okay,
app.
yeah,
Yep, but it directly reads your catalog information.
okay.
Um, and you would literally send us the folder. We would upload smart previews if they exist. If they don't, we make our own temporary smart previews. We upload those. Our calling AI will analyze it, give you back the information. You would download it. If your Lightroom preferences have XMP turned on, XMPs will be made. If they don't, we'll just inject it into the database of Lightroom, and they'll show up anyway, either as stars or colors. So there's your first pass. You now go
Okay.
back to Lightroom,
Wow.
review the data. You can go through and make your second pass at this point. Now it's you doing it, right? You're getting back involved. We're letting you take control. It's your creativity. You don't need to, be totally hands off. Maybe one
Hmm.
day you will trust it, but right now you don't have to.
That's
Um, and so you do your fine tuning of the coal, and then you go back to the Imagine app and say, okay, I've made my changes. Everything 5-star is what I want to edit. And now it re-uploads back the metadata just to see what was changed. Then that takes 2 seconds, just as a text file. And then it goes off to editing just the way that you would edit. And then again, in a couple minutes, it'll be done. You download it back to Lightroom, and you'd open up Lightroom and see them popping in.
Ready. So
Yep.
is the idea with Imagine to get me to help me with culling, of course.
Yep.
But and on the helping me with culling, is does it learn over time what I like based on what I've rejected and what I've kept? And
Right. So
can I tweak it? So can I say, like, personally, I, if I'm shooting a model session or something,
mhm,
I may favor towards my 85 mil lens and a blurry background, and I always want the nearest eye to be
right.
tack sharp focus. Those are three main
Right.
things. Can it key on those?
So right now, it doesn't personalize culling. That is something that we will get to
Okay.
once we are happy with the overall output for majority of of the Imagine users.
Hmm.
At that point, once we're happy and we take it out of beta, now we can then turn on personalization, and then it'll learn from your needs. But we are holding
Sweet.
off on enabling personalization until we are happy with like the general output of what it's
So
doing for
cool.
everybody.
That's
But
so
the
cool.
editing is
Wow.
100% personalized. So editing wise, it will learn what it'll learn from what I like to say from A to Z. A being what you do in camera, and Z or Z being the final edit. So it'll learn everything that you do and just do it for you.
So it's
And
an
again,
assistant.
it's not
It's an
to
assistant.
it. Yeah, it's all non-destructive in Lightroom still. So it's not you're not. It doesn't have to be the end if you don't want it to be. You can still do blemish removal in Photoshop if you want. You can still do blemish removal in Lightroom if you want, or use portraiture, or whatever it is. You can still keep going to further enhance the photo for your creative needs.
So it sounds like what I said earlier about how I used to use Flickr back in the day
Mhm.
as like a crowdsourced culling tool to tell me what shots are great. Sounds like Imagine is doing that now. So I can upload my headshot shoot of actor ABC on the beach.
Mhm.
I can upload all those photos. It's going to initially go through and tell me which ones I should care about and work on based on smarts, and then apply some corrections to those selects at the end, and then present those back to me. So now I have a starting point of really great images that are almost ready to go. Then I can go in and do some final cropping, or I want this like this, or I want to make this one for TikTok, whatever. So I can do all that stuff later, but it gets
Yeah.
me to the point where all these photos are good, and all these photos are, we've edited them to make sure that they are ready for you to add your special sauce to, right? Is that
Yeah.
accurate? Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the culling and editing are two separate things. You can do one or the other, but it's part of.
Mhm.
You could do it either separate or you could do it together. That's the whole thing where we're going with this sort of integrated experience, so that it's all one. And we're not ending there. We're going to be adding features to be able to send your final edit to your gallery automatically. So if you're, hopefully at some point we're integrating with SmugMug and any other potential gallery solution that wants to integrate. We'll be able to send it off to you. But also from the ingestion side of things
Yeah.
is part of this new this direction we're going is being able to be a photographer's additional disaster recovery solution. So right now, a lot of photographers are using SmugMug, for example, to back up all their JPEGs, right?
Yeah.
Because SmugMug makes it really easy to do so, especially from Lightroom. So we're making it easy for photographers to also back up their raw files as they're going to upload for culling or editing. We could back up your raw photos for you at the same time, right? So that's also
and
the
where do those
direction we're going.
go? If I'm backing up my raw files, where are they?
Yeah.
Where those files live?
So that would go to the Imagen servers. So we've got,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah. So we have Amazon AWS servers that we
Yeah.
utilize. The super high production, secure servers, and yeah, nobody has access to them. They're very safe. Just like a Flickr or a SmugMug. They're in cloud servers, and they're secured, and all that stuff. So it's
Yeah, that's
it's
great. Yeah, SmugMug has a that I learned about relatively recently, a couple months ago. There's a service that SmugMug doesn't promote a whole lot. So this might be like a hacker insider tip. But if you look on SmugMug and you search for a feature called SmugMug Source,
Yeah.
it will allow you to upload your raw images and store them on SmugMug in perpetuity. Right. So when I learned about that, along with all this Flickr stuff, when I learned about that, I was like, wait a minute. so, Backblaze? Yeah,
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, so I don't know that they want the word to be out there that widely, but yeah, it's totally possible to throw all your raws up there and have them accessible to you and not worry about, oh, I got to put a Drobo here or not Drobo or Synology.
That's the thing. That's the thing is disaster recovery is becoming even more important as I feel like in many cases consumer hardware is getting poorer and poorer in quality, right? Hard drives fail. I mean, Drobo went out of business. There's so many risks of having your raw files only in a local device and or on one cloud solution. Like, to me, it's like there was a time where I had SmugMug and I had Backblaze and I had Dropbox and I have, like, the more the better in my opinion, right? And then have the JPEG somewhere else, So it's you can't have too many, and if they're affordable, if cloud is more in some cases for some people, cloud is more affordable, and having these expensive NAS drives and all these additional hardware in your studio, in your house. So
yeah,
I'm very excited about the future of backups in everything, because I feel like it's all headed in good directions, and it's only in the photographer's benefit, which is the best
100%. Yeah. For me, I'm weird, but for me, I feel like everything you said is 100% true. Backups in the cloud on your servers on SmugMug, where anywhere but here, basically.
Yes.
I want them to live and I want them to be accessible, because I think what a lot of photographers are solving for is, what if my house just implodes on itself and falls into a poltergeist black hole or something, right? And all my computers
Well, you're in California, it could.
I actually live in Cuesta Verde. I'm just saying. No. But what was that sound? But
Knock on wood.
yeah, totally. But we're solving for that. If something catastrophic like that happens, the one thing that one of the things that we are going to be most stressed about is our photos and all that stuff. So having it offsite in the cloud makes a ton of sense. But also what I'm solving for is just being able to get stuff instantly. So like for me, I want local. I want everything, all my stuff local, and I want to be able to access it And
Yep.
that's mainly because what if a company goes out of business? What if a company gets
Yeah.
eaten by another company and that company doesn't think that part of the business is important and they shutter it? Now I got to scramble and figure out a solution, which is not to say that's going to happen to any of the companies we've mentioned, but paranoid Frederick in my photos,
Yeah.
I want local, but then
Yeah.
I want it in the cloud too on
The
these other
redundancy.
areas. The
Yeah, the
redundancy.
redundancy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Redundancy and access
Yeah.
and safety. Like
Yep.
my friend Alex Lindsay, who used to be on TWIP, one of the founders of TWIP.
Mhm.
He would say that data doesn't exist unless it exists in 3 locations simultaneously,
Yes. Yep.
which makes sense. So it needs to, or a photo, let's say a photo needs to be on your local drive here,
Mhm.
on, like you said, on your Dropbox, or maybe at a friend's house. Maybe you guys are mirroring drives and doing that dance, or at
Yep.
grandma's or your parents or something. So there's another copy of it. And then there's a copy up there in the cloud
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
So if something happens on Earth and those things go away, you still have your cloud backup. Something happens to the cloud backup, you have one of those. So you got the tripod of stability, which I think
Yeah.
is really, really important. I've lived by that since he said that. It's
Yep.
made sense, to kind of follow that
Yeah.
rule of thumb.
I've been using the 3-2-1 rule, which is very basically it's the same thing. But it's
Mm-hmm.
spelled out as basically 3 backups, 2 of which are local, 1 is cloud. I've been looking at it more as at least 3 backups. I do have 2 local, but I would say 1 local at a minimum, 2 clouds, because
Yeah.
again, clouds are safer in the long run, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
hardware
scarier,
gets
it's
to be
safer.
expensive.
Yeah, you're right. It's safer, but depending on who you are and the volume of your
Yeah.
photography,
Yes.
part of the
Yes.
hard part could be getting your photos up there in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
you're shooting, a gazillion images every weekend on weddings or whatever, and you're still
Yep.
trying to upload, you could never catch
Yeah.
up, right? Because
See, I
you're
think
filling the
that's the
bucket
beauty.
faster than you can empty it. So
Yeah, but that's the beauty of how Imagine is doing it, is we're building it into the workflow. So when you're going to upload your 6,000 photos you shot at the wedding to Cole, right? Initially, we're backing up your raw photos at that point.
beautiful.
When you're
Beautiful.
uploading to Cole, it's backed up. Again, this is not yet. This is the future. This is what's coming.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can go into edit, and again, your photos are still backed up. So if something
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
So
That's important.
yeah, definitely. To wrap things up, I want to just say from the Workflows podcast, the Imagine side of things, please definitely go and check out TWIP, This Week in Photo. Listen to all of Frederick's episodes. Check out the website, check out the community there. And that's what this is about. This is about, introducing for everybody who on the Imagine side who hasn't heard of This Week in Photo to definitely go and check it out. I've known Frederick for a
Likewise.
long time.
A long time, yeah, yeah, wow, yeah, it's been forever. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I had more hair back when we first met. Maybe
Same.
a little bit, maybe a little bit. And I would throw it back at you as well. For the folks in the This Week in Photo listening audience that are listening and watching this, you heard what we talked about, right? With how Imagine kind of fits into the workflow of what you're doing, depending on what your genre is. Yeah, I mean, you can't not check it out, right? I mean, and one of the people behind the company, Scott here, so they're genuine people doing genuine things that are genuinely in service of making the world a better place through the power of photography, right? And making your journey in photography a little bit easier, a little bit more pleasurable, using the tools correctly, using AI tools correctly to help you be better at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like in the case of Grammarly, I talked about in the beginning of the conversation how Grammarly has helped me become a better writer because it's low key showing me what I'm doing wrong repetitively so that I'm fixing it, as I go along.
Yep.
Same thing with what you guys are doing. I see parallels there. Like, oh, okay. And I'm always overexposing because it's always needed to. It's always pulling my exposure back a little bit. Maybe I should work on that.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things. So I would say partner. Don't vilify AI, and the technologies that the various tangents that AI is comprised of. Don't vilify it. Now is the time to be educated about it. Whether or not you're going to dive in and become a proponent of the technologies and all this stuff, but dive in and understand how this stuff works and how people are using it. On the bullish side, figure out how AI can make you a better photographer using software like Imagen, using, the different tools that are available to you. Figure out what it is you want to be as a photographer and how these new technologies can now kickstart what you're trying to do. These are techs that Ansel Adams didn't have, right?
Mm.
Yet he still managed to make great photos, right? And
Yep.
now you have all these cool things, whether it's the cameras, it's the software, it's the community, and all these things. So yeah, use them and don't be afraid of them. I saw and I don't know if you saw this ad campaign that Nikon put out, and I'm a Nikon shooter,
Yes.
so I'm pro
Yeah.
Nikon, right?
Yep.
So they put out this campaign on basically the gist of the campaign was don't give up on reality yet, right? Because everyone's doing this mid-journey stuff and all these cool things. And
Mhm.
Nikon put out this, basically it was an ad campaign that showed, and I'll put it in the TWIP blog post as well. But the commercial that they put together, or the piece, was showing real locations, fantastical locations around the planet that Nikon photographers had captured, and then they
Yeah.
prompted them. So they wrote a prompt that you would have written to generate that kind of image, but of
Yeah.
course it was a real image, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. That was an interesting take on it. But at the end of it, they had a screen up that had, how they put the text on the screen, and they had a text on the screen that said, "This campaign inspired hundreds of photographers to go out and shoot in reality," or something like that. And the first thing I thought was, only hundreds? Right? Only hundreds of photographers? For one, I mean, you look at Midjourney and Adobe and all these different companies that are springing up, millions and millions of
Yeah.
people are trying these things. So hundreds is a drop in the bucket. So I wouldn't have leaned into that if I were you, Nikon. And on the other side of it, I was thinking, why are you raging against the machine, literally, right?
Mm.
Why not change the narrative of the conversation to be something like, look at what these amazing Nikon photographers are doing with their amazing images that they shot with their Nikon cameras, and then used AI to do these things with, right? So kind of leaning into it instead of
Mhm.
trying to vilify it. I think vilifying the AI tech right now, where there's generative or large language models or whatever, is a losing
Right.
battle. It's like trying to stuff the toothpaste back in the tube. It's not going.
Yeah.
You might as well just
Yeah.
brush your teeth.
So I'm also a Nikon user, and I still love my Nikons, and I always will. But
Yeah.
did you notice that after that campaign came out, that a lot of the photos were sourced from Flickr and not actually
I
shot for the campaign?
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling.
So so it was a very clever campaign. I was like loving it as I watched the video, and then I saw the news about how it was literally like some of it was even Creative Commons, like
Yeah.
unpaid. So
That's
I mean,
oh, that's
yeah.
so sad. That's interesting. That's the thing about Flickr, and one of the powers that people kind of overlook that Nikon inadvertently leveraged, right? And that's the
Mhm.
fact that the metadata for the photos that you upload, if you choose it to
Oh,
be, but by
yeah,
default, the metadata for your photos, the focal length, the lens you use, the camera
yeah,
body you use, the exposure information, et
all
cetera,
there.
is all recorded and
Yeah.
and displayed beautifully with your photo,
Searchable.
and
Searchable.
searchable. So like Nikon did, you could say, you know
Yeah.
what, I want to see what is the world shooting, what are people shooting with Nikon Z9s,
Yeah.
with the 50, with the 50
Yeah.
50 mil lens, Nikon Z9s. You know what are they doing in San Francisco? Photographers shooting Nikon Z9s in San Francisco last
That's
month
Creative
only.
Commons available for commercial use.
That's Creative Column that I can use in my thing, right? So
Yeah.
boom, there you go. So
Yeah.
it's all there. So like the
Yeah.
Flickr platform and SmugMug are built. It sounds cliche, but I'm gonna say it anyway. By photographers for photographers,
Yeah.
and those are the things that photographers want, right? You want
Yeah.
to. I see a beautiful picture that I would like to try and do something like that. instantly, I want to know what you shot it with, not so much the camera body, but what lens and exposure and all that other stuff. So I think one of the things Flickr may consider, I don't know if they're considering it now, but I know when I first joined the company, Flickr had spun up a whole new category to allow people that were generating video game photography to upload and categorize. So like in software like or games like Horizon Zero Dawn, right? So beautiful game, open world game, has a feature in there where you could just wander around and pull out a virtual camera and take a photo of the scene. Turns out that's your photo. That is now your photo. So you can take that photo and upload it to Flickr as your photo, and it'll be categorized appropriately. So I'm thinking, AI is probably next, right? To have something up there that you can flag it as if it's not already there. It may already be there. They're fast. But something that you can search for all the photos that were generated by AI, or even a particular AI algorithm. Like, oh, this is from OpenAI, or not OpenAI, but DALL-E. Yeah, this is from DALL-E. This is from Midjourney. This is Firefly, whatever. So
it's only a matter of time. It's got to go that direction for sure. But
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap things up. Thank you, Frederick. This has been fantastic. I can't wait to get this episode out.
We will do this again.
Yeah. This
absolutely.
We'll have to talk about this as we edit the episode, but this might have to be a 2-parter because this is a long one.
Yeah. Well, on TWIP it'll be a 1-parter because I'm going longer with the episodes. Little news is the way TWIP is going to evolve over the next couple of weeks is. You remember back in the day, TWIP was essentially roundtable discussions with multiple photographers in the room discussing a particular topic. So going back to that, which is inherently longer form, right? So we're going to move to that, but then also the one-on-one interviews will continue. So we'll have those on the feed as well. And now I'm adding on the short form side, the YouTube channel will start evolving into more small tidbits of information, whether it be a review of a particular piece of software like yours, or some piece of kit like some a new lens or some new bobble for the camera that came out. So we'll do short form product reviews, maybe 15-20 minutes or so. We'll start going up on the YouTube channel. So all that stuff is kind of represents the next evolution of TWIP, kind of regressing in one area, going back to the roundtable, and pressing forward in another area, kind of embracing YouTube.
Diverse set of shows, of like parts of the show. I think it's great. I'm planning similar things, not what you're doing, but like similar segments type of things for workflows as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
I'm gonna be the next one that's gonna be coming hopefully soon, shortly after this episode airs, is what we're calling Workflows Mentors, where we're gonna have one-on-one conversation with a mentee and a mentor talking about whatever they're struggling with.
Like that.
You're not allowed to steal that from me.
ChatGPT, give me words that are similar to mentors. That Oh man, that's awesome.
This has been that's been a long thing in the works, but I can't wait till it's finally like out there for people.
No, it's so much to do.
Enjoy, because if one person have a problem, So this has been fantastic. I can't wait for this episode to air. On my side, on your side, it's gonna be great. Hopefully we can do more of these in the future. Hopefully people enjoy this crossover type of thing, and we can make it happen more.
Absolutely, I'm down, man. Yeah, just say the word and I'm there. This was a good time, and and folks, if you want to connect with me, obviously I'm at thisweekinphoto.com is the podcast and all the good things. Like I was saying, hundreds and hundreds of episodes up there with a ton of people from the industry. All corners of the industry are up there. So if you feel like listening to conversations similar to this, about various topics, just head over to thisweekinphoto.com for that. But then also if you're a pro photographer, definitely check out SmugMug, which is my sister company. I can't say enough about how meticulous they are about caring for photographers' images and empowering photographers to, if they want to generate income from their photography, helping them do that. And then on the Flickr side, all the things we talked about. I mean, just the metadata piece, you owe it to yourself just to go over there, even if you don't sign up. to poke around and explore and see what people are doing with your particular camera and lens to get inspired. Like, oh crap, I didn't know I could do that, and then go out and shoot. So check it all out. Lots of stuff to look at.
Awesome. For on the Imagine side, if you are looking for somebody, software that is going to help you with your post-production to speed things up, let you get back to, going out and traveling and going out and spending time with family, which is what I'm about to do when we stop recording, and do whatever it is you want to do, or work on other things in your business, then check out Imagen. It's just imagen-ai.com. You'll find the podcast there and all the other stuff. And again, you can try Imagen for free. You don't need to pay us to try us. So
love it.
Yeah. So this has been fantastic. I'm just gonna hit stop. Here we go.
Yeah.
Frederick, this was amazing. Thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I can't wait to do more crossover episodes with you, with you and the TWIP community. It's been real. So awesome. This is so good. You have been listening to Workflows, presented by Imagen. To hear more from Workflows, to find links to our guests, and for an exclusive offer for Workflows listeners, please go to imagenai.com/podcast and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.